Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mr. Green. Today we are going to be reviewing what we covered on the first day of class, August 11th. Each class did a similar activity, just differentiated with the amount of work that was required in the activity. So, with that being said, it was a get to know you / sourcing activity. The first step was each student was to write in their notebook their preferred name, which basically you don't want the student's name was Robert and he wants to be called Bobby. I just needed to know if you want to be called Bobby. Next, we are going to write our favorite person in history or our favorite time period. 7th grade got the choice of either or. 8th and up had to do both. 9th, we're gonna see where after that we move into favorite subject. Kind of letting me know how the students learn, because if you like math, you tend to be more logical. If you like ELA and history, you tend to be someone who follows along a little bit more expressive. So just a couple things like that in terms of multiple intelligences. Now, after that, we moved on to we moved on to how do you learn. Something very important is letting me know how what's worked before. Do you like videos? Do you like lecture? Do you like PowerPoints? Do you like pictures? Things of that sort make a significant difference. And then last but not least was an outside hobby. They could literally put anything they wanted there, just something they like to do outside of class, something to connect the conversations with. After they moved past that point, they ended up having to make a chronological sequence of events in their life. They had to take, 7th grade had to take 5 events, 8th and up had to take 6 events. And they had to describe 5 significant events in their life. Now, with these events, these were not supposed to be too personal. These were not supposed to be too in-depth. These were just, like, hey, I had a brother, I had a sister, I graduated kindergarten, I was born, things of that sort. This was the way it was modeled to them as I was born, I graduated high school, I enlisted in the Army, I had my first kid, I had my second kid, I had my third kid. So it was very short, brief, but at the same time, makes sense. Now, 9th grade actually had to come back and give an explanation for 2 of the events and why they were important. 10th grade had to give an explanation for 3 of the events and why they were important. Then they were to be paired with a random classmate. I did this by number sequencing, split the room in half, counted 1 through however many students, and then the 1s were put together, the 2s, and so on. Now, what would happen is student A is going to record, or is going to read what he wrote or what she wrote, and student B is going to record what they're saying for 2 minutes. After those 2 minutes are up, we flip-flop. Student B would speak and student A would record. But there's a reason they were only given 2 minutes, and we'll get into that here in a second. But the goal was for them to record as much as possible in those 2 minutes from what the speaker was saying. Afterwards, student A was asked to share about student B, and student B was asked to share about student A. After all was said and done, they had introduced their classmate, someone who they didn't know. We then had the opportunity to look at some of the writings. I asked for someone to be an example. One of the perfect examples came from one of my classes where a young lady actually listed when each of her siblings were born. And she gave the siblings names, whereas the other student wrote sibling 1, sibling 2, sibling 3, sibling so forth. Now, those little details being left out may not seem important, but when we're talking about history, it shows the relevance of primary sources. It shows that if we can get it from the person who actually wrote it, from the person who actually experienced it, these little details are sometimes not left out. But as well, it also shows the quality of a secondary source, because sometimes the secondary source is telling it from abbreviated information or information that they don't really have. So it's important to know to always go back to the primary and then collaborate with a secondary source. And that was the entire point of the lesson. Thank you.